Hello and welcome back to another edition of the Instafilter series. In this edition, we will use the Reflect blend mode to give your images more contrast and color, perfect for an Instagram look. It is only a couple of simple steps, so let's get started. First, we start by duplicating our image and immediately grouping this duplicated layer. I'm using the context menu in the Layers panel to achieve these steps. But, as a reminder, you can also use the keyboard shortcut Command J for creating a duplicate and the shortcut Command G to group layers. Time for the Reflect blend mode. We will apply the Reflect blend mode on the group we just created. Awesome! Look how much color and contrast this created. But as you guessed it, it is way too much. We definitely need to dim it and blend it in more naturally. And guess what? I'm going to use my favorite tool, Blend Ranges. Now, the trick is here to apply the blend range on the image with the normal blend mode, and not on the group with the Reflect blend mode. In the blend ranges, I'm just going to lower the shadows with half for both the source and the underlying layer. Bam! Have a look at that. Just freaking awesome. Let me turn off the group so we can see the original and our reflected action. Let's try it on a couple of other images. I'm going to group the current layers so I can easily hide them with one click and open up some image groups I have created earlier. I think this guy is just amazed because I'm going to share the macro for this action with you. The link will be in the description. Let's apply our macro. Pretty cool. From flat to depth and color in less than a second. Time for another image. Let's apply our macro. Amazing. The blend ranges I applied in the macro will work nicely most of the time, but you can adjust them if you want to control the effect. As I move the blend range points, notice how this controls the strength of the effect. Before moving on to the next image, let's see the before and the after. In this example, the effect is already applied to it, so let me disable it so you can see the before. I want to share with you that you can also adjust the blend range of the group. Here I have lowered the highlights from the source layer so that the highlights do not get too bright. As I move this point, you can see how this helps me to control the highlights. Awesome! Time for the next image. Again, the effect is already applied. Let's turn the effect off so we can see how boring the original image was. I also did the same here as the previous example. I lowered the highlights of the source in the blend range of the group. If I reset it to default, notice how the highlights in our face are overexposed. So, by lowering them in the blend ranges, I will make the end result much more natural. This effect also works great on black and white images. Let me enable the effect. Awesome! I'll remove the effect and apply the macro just to make sure it is indeed the same effect. Now, for you out there feeling adventurous, the next example will take this effect a step further. Let me first enable the applied effects. A subtle change, but just enough to make the image more interesting. Now, let's have a look what has been applied. We still have our Reflect group and in it the image with the blend ranges. On the Reflect group we have a blend range which slightly lowers the effect on the highlights. The interesting part here is that the Reflect blend group has been grouped again, so the result of it can be blended in using luminosity. To contain the luminosity blend, a blend range has been used so it doesn't get applied on the darker parts of the image. As I modify the blend range, you can see its effect. Let's set the blend range like this. Awesome! Basically, we are using the Reflect group for changing the luminosity of the original image. In this image, I did the same, but I also applied a mask on the face. When I enable the effects group, you see that only the face is affected. Here is the group with the luminosity and under it the Reflect group. Let's get back to our starting image. This reflected image is also pretty cool to have it as a base to create contrasty black and white conversions. I can add a channel mixer and set the mode to gray, which, as you might have watched my previous videos on this topic, is the quickest and the best way to convert a color image to black and white. By lowering the alpha, we can really make the image darker, and to compensate, I can increase the intensity and the offset. Have a look at that, freaking awesome. Now, some of you might wonder, why are you using a group for this effect? Why not just put the duplicate in reflect blend mode and adjust the blend range? Well, my friends, this is a very valid question. And all of this has to do with the processing order. So, to demonstrate that it is not the same, I'm going to remove the channel adjustment and then duplicate the source image and start from the beginning. So let's first do the reflect without a group. I will duplicate the image, put its blend mode to reflect, and finally adjust the blend ranges accordingly. Let me group them and give it a name, so we know what version this was. As you might have noticed, the end result is not the same as the initial effect with the group. But let's see. I'm going to duplicate the original image again and then apply my macro. The macro also makes a small change in the blend range of the group, so let's reset this if we want to compare. By the way, this is another good reason why to have it in a group, as you have an additional blend range to your disposal to fine-tune the effect. Anyway, let's double check the blend range on the image. Yes, they are the same. Now, let's group these layers and name it Group Reflect. If I turn it on and off, you see that they are not the same. As mentioned, the reason for this is the processing hierarchy. The blend mode is always processed before the blend range. By grouping the image and changing the blend range on the image and setting the blend mode of the group, we force Affinity to first process the blend range and then apply the blend mode. To demonstrate what I mean, let me do the other way around. I will duplicate the grouped version and modify it so the image gets the blend mode first by resetting the blend ranges and setting it to the reflect blend mode. Now I will apply the blend range on the group. Let's also name this. Now, if I enable and disable it, you see that there is no difference with the direct reflect group, which indicates that indeed Affinity first applies the blend mode and then the blend range. And this, my friends, is why I group the duplicate first and apply the blend mode to the group, as this makes sure that the blend range is applied first before the reflect blend mode kicks in. Pretty interesting, I hope. Thanks again for watching. I hope you liked this video. If you did, hit the like button, and if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing for more interesting Affinity tutorials. Until the next video, keep safe and keep being creative.